So we've been spending several videos to learn the basic concepts, router, components, and today we're going to put those knowledge into use. You're going to see how quickly we could put things together, and toward the end of the video, I'm going to introduce another core concept. Let me bring up the already built Fishcard website, and we are going to replicate the majority of the page except the styles. I'm going to have another video talking about the styles, and we'll start with the hyperlink on the right upper corner. Now, at this moment, the Fishcard is single page, by which I mean this is a single page, it doesn't jump from one page to another. However, it is still beneficial to put it in the layout, and I will show you why. Here, we already have the Fishcard layout component. So let's keep building on that. And by the way, if you do not know what is a layout component, I suggest you to go back to the video that we talked about the components. Now I'll put the link to the right upper corner. Back to the code, we updated the text. You notice on the target page, we have a small linking-ish icon. That is an emoji. You could copy it from the internet, or you could get it from the emoji keyboard. And the key combination for the keyboard is Windows key plus period. Here we have our link icon. Now, when the user clicks on the link, instead of replacing the current content, I want it to show up in a new window or new tab, depends on the user settings. And that's what the target of _blank for. Line 5 to 7 is going to render the body. That looks great. Let's update the app component to use it. As we already know, there are two spots to use the layout. One is this default layout. This is for normal pages. And the other is this one in this not found component. It will only display a text within the layout. And that is why I want this link in the layout. That even if the route failed, the user is still going to access the link on this page. Let's see how it looks like now. Here you see the link on top of the page. We're going to work on the content in a bit. Now let's try typing a route that does not exist. You see the message, but within the layout. Now let's set up the proper routing. I'm going to stop the routing of root to index by cutting out the page directive here from the index component. The router is going to stop routing the traffic to this page. And I'm going to paste it into Fishcard home component. And this is how we're going to make Fishcard home the real home page, right? Although it is okay for one page to have multiple routes, I'm going to do some house cleaning. And since the Fishcard layout is already the default layout, this layout directive becomes redundant. So let's get rid of that as well. Okay, let's check it out. Oh, hello, Fishcard. Great, so the layout is what we want, and the route is correct. It is ready for the content. Let's see. In the target website, we have an image, we have a tagline, a search box, and several buttons. Let's replicate it. Begin with the image. I'll save the image to my source code folder. Please pay attention to the path. For resources like images, they go under the folder of www.root. I'm going to create an images folder, but that is not required. What is important is that when you reference it, the path need to be correct. And let me show you how to come up with the correct path. Once you figure it out, it's actually pretty simple. We start by using the image tag from the HTML. Here we need to provide the source. I'm going to provide a relative path, but it is relative to index.html, which is inside the folder of www.root. In other words, it doesn't matter which reader page are you in, when it comes to referencing to HTML resource, the current folder is always www root. Now I'm going to copy the relative path, but that's not the correct one. I only do that because I don't want to make a typo. And another minor detail, since a lot of the web hosts are going to be Linux, I'm going to use a forward slash. Also, it will be nice for you to throw in an alternative text for the sake of accessibility. And the title attributes are going to give us a pop-up, which looks like a tooltip. We see the image and we see the tooltip. And if we bring up the dev tools here, you're going to see the alternative text. Okay, that is image. Now the tagline. Tagline is simple. You know the tricks already. Again, here I used the emoji for the light bulb icon. Let's get rid of those leftovers. And let's see what's the next. It is an input box. The code for that is simple as well. It's an input tag. Here I'm going to throw in a placeholder attribute. So it will display a watermark while there's no text. And we're going to talk about the values in a bit. Let's see how it looks like now. As you can see, layout, image, text, and then input box. And next, let's work on the buttons. We're going to do 2 buttons this time. One for search, another for clear. Oh, they stay side by side to each other. This is a surprise. Not that it matters. We're going to redo the styles in the future. I just thought they would go vertically. But again, it doesn't matter at this moment. Okay, the basic UI elements are there now. Let's move on to the functionality. Coming to the build Fishcard. If we type something in the search box, several things happening. You see the pop-up there? It will filter the available items according to the input. And as we keep typing, it is filtering further down. Then, either when you pick an item, or if you type enter, or if you click the search button, the result will come up and the logo will be hidden to save some space for the results. Okay, these are code reacting to the user inputs. Now pay attention, this is a very core concept again. How do we get the value on the input box, like the grab here, right? The concept is called data binding. Data binding is a syncing mechanism. It syncs the data between the DOM control and the coding module. Let's learn it by coding. In Blazor, the binding is done by this bind directive. For example, we want to bind this to a property named keyword. This is how we do it. The question is, what is keyword? And apparently, the compiler has the same question. So a binding target could be a field or a property. Let me create one in the code behind. Well, through the last video, when we're talking about component, we understand this is a partial class, and this is the equivalent as if it is in the code section in Fishcard home.razor, right? So you could create it here, or more traditionally, you could create it in the code section. What we need to know in the end of the day is that we added a property named keyword on top of the class of the Fishcard home. And since the keyword could be null, it's a nullable string. Coming back to the razor, the compiler error is gone. And that is how we bind the value from an input box to a property of keyword. For us to easily observe the value, I'm going to bind the value of keyword to another piece of text as well. And that is very simple. You just prefix the property with a directive prefix, the @ sign. And let's see what it looks like now. We type in the summon, nothing happened. That means the value is still there in the input box, but it hadn't been bound to the property of keyword yet until I type out. Now, two things happened. One, the value is now saved to keyword property. Second, the value of keyword property has been rendered to the page of the div, right? Let's go back a little bit to ask another why. Why the value only change when I typed out? That is actually another concept, bind event. So for input box, there are two events, change and input. Change happens basically when you lose the focus to the control. For example, if you click another button on the screen, or like what I did, you tap out, but it won't be triggered when you are typing. Input event, on the other hand, invokes every time you type in a character. In Blazor, the default event for binding is onchange, but you could overwrite the behavior, and once you get the idea, it is pretty easy. To overwrite the event for binding, you need this bind event directive. This is saying, hey, we're going to use the handler on input rather than on change, right? How does it look like now? The value of keyword got updated every time we type in one character, and also the value got rendered onto the page immediately. So that is for data binding and bind event. Okay, let's wrap it up here today. Next time, we're going to talk more about the search functionality. Where does the data come from? How do we do that pop-up list? And how do we display the results? I hope you learned something and you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumb up. Keep coding, keep improving, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. And we're going to have another meeting. Yeah, like I'm in the meeting. We're going to